In this video, I will be reacting and cooking Adam Ragusea's sloppy gyros.
I'm calling it a sloppy gyro. The first thing to do is to
Sloppy
make the
gyros.
tzatziki sauce. You can buy it pre-made, but if you want to make it yourself, here's an easy way.
I didn't follow Adam's recipe for tzatziki because I have my own that I prefer. If you do want to watch that and follow it, then go to Adam's channel. Cut your garlic in tiny little pieces and put it in your bowl, followed by your olive oil and then by your lemon juice, just a little bit because it goes a long way. Then put your yogurt and your dill tips. Mix it up and you have a perfect yogurt. It might need a little bit of salt.
Off that cutting board, and then here's a red onion. I will halve it, peel it, and then halve one of the halves. This quarter onion I'm going to very thinly slice. These are for topping the finished sandwiches. I'll save those for now.
Oops, I did the wrong order here. I diced the onion first and then sliced it. But one thing that I did differently from Adam is to add the sliced onion for the garnish in some ice water to remove some of the pungent oniony aromas.
The rest of the onion I'm just going to chop up. This is for the meat. Wide pan on pretty high heat, a little olive oil, and then in goes the onions. Give them a little head start, but I don't think you really have to get them brown now. They'll get browned later. In goes a pound of ground lamb.
I was wondering, why do Greek Americans use lamb instead of pork? And I think I came up with an answer. It's not a very accurate one because I couldn't find academic sources about it, but I am convinced that Greeks who migrated to the States moved there before the 70s, and that's why to this day they have lamb gyros. In Greece, during the 70s, the junta who was ruling the country at the time enforced the consumption of pork. More specifically, as you can see, they run all these ad campaigns. This blogspot doesn't use references, but they use newspaper clippings, so I'm gonna rank it as somewhat reliable. If anyone from the audience knows more, please let me know.
Get that in there and mix it around, and then in goes another pound. 2 pounds or 900 grams total. Seems like a lot of meat, but you'll see how much it reduces.
So as you can see, I also use a stainless steel pan, and I already caramelized some of the onions, and then I added 1 kilo of ground lamb.
I'm using a wooden spoon to break all this up and to continually scrape off anything that's sticking to the bottom. There should be more than enough water in here to continuously deglaze this pan for a while, but certainly if anything is going to burn, turn the heat down. I'm just trying to evaporate a ton of water out of this pan, which takes a while. I cooked this a good 15 minutes. Once it's reduced, everything will start to smell and sound different. The pan will crackle as the meat and the onions start to fry in the fat.
Yeah, it took quite a while to remove most of the water from the ground lamb.
They can't do that until you've gotten a lot of the water out. This is the part that's essential to getting that gyro flavor. Remember, every strip of a gyro is supposed to be brown and crusty, so
That's not gyros though, that's doner, I don't know how to pronounce it.
every bit of this ground meat needs to be browned, or at least as much as you can before things start looking like they're definitely going to burn. I'm going to throw in a big spoonful of flour for thickening, stir that in and let it brown in the fat until burning is imminent, and then yes, I'm deglazing with cheap white wine. You could obviously just use water, in which case I might hit it with some vinegar too at the end. Scrape, scrape, scrape with that wooden spoon. That browned fond on the bottom of the pan is the outside of the gyro loaf. Time for some herbs and spices. Traditional dried herbs used in gyros: thyme, oregano, rosemary, marjoram. Use any combination of these that you have, or do what I do and use herbs de Provence, which is a virtually identical blend. Not that surprising. Provence is the most Mediterranean part of France. Lots of overlap with Greek food there. I think you want a lot, like 2 tablespoons of dried herbs at least. A bunch of black pepper and a real big pinch of salt to start with. Stir that around, give it a taste, and what's really missing is cumin, at least a teaspoon I'd say, and I want more salt.
I continued following Adam's instructions to the letter.
This recipe is called sloppy gyros. A sloppy joe, for people who don't know, is a sandwich that's made with spiced ground beef that is bound in a sauce based on ketchup. And I'm going to put some ketchup in here. It just brings incomparable gloss to a mixture like this. I don't want too much. Too much would make this taste like not a gyro. That's why I also put some flour in there for thickening.
Even though the Cypriot inside me was screaming, "No!" I added ketchup as well, just a little bit, following Adam's instructions, of course.
Sloppy Joes don't usually have flour, just ketchup. I'm mixing in little bits of ketchup and then a little more wine until I get the taste and the slightly saucy consistency that I'm after. And there we go. You may be tempted to drain out some of the fat. I say don't. The fat is where the lamb flavor is really concentrated. Without it, it almost just tastes like any ground meat. At the last second, I'm going to cut up some tomatoes for topping. Out of season, cherry or grape tomato varieties are usually the best ones in the grocery store. About 8 ounces, 200 grams. I would normally just cut them in half, but for this purpose, I'm actually cutting them into tiny little slices. These will lay flat in the sandwich and be less likely to slide out. You could warm up some pita bread, scoop on some meat, just give it a stir first.
Adam's sloppy gyros looks a bit saucier than mine. I wish I added just a bit more wine
to get that fat mixed back in. Top with some tzatziki, onions, and tomatoes, and flavor-wise, that is nearly identical to a real gyro, other than the meat being a little bit sweeter. The difference is almost purely textural. But what I prefer to do is to treat it like a sloppy joe and put it on a hamburger bun. Look at that.
I too treated this as a sloppy joe, so therefore I used a burger bun, but where I went differently from Adam is that I squeezed a bit of lemon on each of the sides of the bun before putting my meat on it. Another thing that I did differently here is that I applied tzatziki directly to the bread. I think that gives the bread a bit more moisture. As you can see, the ground lamb that I am using, it's much drier than Adam's, but I was lucky because the tzatziki and the tomatoes added so much moisture to the sandwich that it didn't need to be moister. But if I didn't have those, yes, that added moisture would be mandatory. So well done, Adam.
You probably got enough stuff here for like 8 to 10 sandwiches, which is great.
I don't know if it can make 8 to 10 sandwiches, but for my family, it made 5.
Because wet food generally reheats very well. Just pack up the leftovers and have some tomorrow. Opa! Well,
Opa.
sloppy opa.
Let's see my reaction now.
Okay, let's give it a try, shall we? How sloppy this gyros is. Oh my god, it's leaking from everywhere. I'm gonna go for seconds.
Look here, look at my eyes. I was enjoying that way too much.
That is so good.
Honestly, it was so supremely tasty. It was very delicious and the flavors were right on point. Indeed, it was reminding me of a gyros, but slightly moister, slightly more flavorful. The wine chefified it a bit, you know? I really enjoyed it. I made this recipe for my parents and my brother. Like me, my mom found it phenomenal. My brother and my dad found it so and so. But, taste is subjective. From where I'm standing, Adam, you made a very easy, extremely tasty recipe. You have a thumbs up from me. I know that you don't like reaction videos, as I got it from your podcast on copyright.
These channels where dudes just watch other people's YouTube videos and they occasionally laugh or say something snarky over top. I don't love that.
I hope this video meets your standards, because not only did I react to your recipe, but I also made it. So, this was a wonderful recipe. It was very easy, and I would recommend it to anyone. If you enjoyed watching this video, try watching this video where I react to Joshua Wiseman's $2 gyros, or this video where I react to Jamie Oliver's Panagopita. Until the next one. Bye!